Hey everybody, welcome back to the Graphic Multiverse. I'm your host Paul, joined with Rob.
Hello there.
And Juan. Very excited for this episode because we're doing another book review. We're going into our time machines to check out the Grant Morrison JLA. And I'm excited to dive in because it's been a while since we've kind of talked about a DC book, and Juan recommended this a couple of months ago, and glad we got to sit down and read it, and I'm excited to talk about it because Grant Morrison, Howard Porter, and John Dell. I have so many questions because my 90s DC knowledge isn't what it should be. Like, seeing, like, the blue Superman, I was like, I forgot that was a thing. And I don't remember why that was a thing, but I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. I'll have to really think hard to answer some of these questions. And I might come up with the answer in a couple minutes. We'll see.
Yeah.
But this run is one of my favorite runs of all time. And I like Grant Morrison. I'm a big fan of his stuff for the most part. When he sticks to a certain sandbox, when he starts spilling the sand out of the sandbox and then writing stories about the sand that's on the ground outside of the sandbox, that's when he gets a little bit too crazy for himself.
Right.
I'm looking at you, Final Crisis. But that said, this is, what I think of when people want to talk about JLA or JLA stories. I'm like, man, I wish it was as good as Grant Morrison's run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read too much JLA, like, in continuity runs. Like, I've read bits and pieces. I've read random story arcs and stuff with JLA, but yeah, this is definitely my first kind of foray into this. I don't know. DC in the 90s is a big black spot for me, except for, like, I think I read Nightfall just for fun one time, just to see what Batman was up to. And that was insanity.
Not always the best, not the best DC 90s stuff to go with.
No, and I definitely
pretty dark.
I think I read Death and Return of Superman as well, just because
God,
who hasn't?
Same.
And that's
Jesus
the thing.
Christ.
Same sentiment. Not the type of thing to. I mean, DC had a lot of. They were trying, man. They were trying to up their market share, and I don't blame them for a lot of the stuff they were trying to do. And it's all cyclical. They keep trying to do it now. They're trying to replace Superman again. They're trying to replace Batman. But they don't. Nobody at DC ever really realizes that these characters are allegories for myths.
Yeah.
They are, Batman's darkness, Superman's light. Wonder Woman is, a source of hope or inspiration or potential of what you could be, And Grant Morrison is one of those few dudes who really got it. Like you were talking about some of the JLA runs, and I mean, I think back, like Giffen and DeMatteis, they were very playful. That stuff is fun to read, and it's great. But they put these guys in costumes. They put, your coworkers in costumes. Guy Gardner is that asshole at the bar that just won't shut up after one too many beers, who's always talking shit.
Yeah.
They made them too familiar, I guess. And Grant Morrison is one of those guys that kind of took a step back and was like, let's make these comics weird like they were when I was a kid, but let's make them make sense and be weird. And that's what some of these stories are. I mean, there's some wild stuff coming up. So
I can imagine. I read, I think, a little further than Paul did. And yeah, stuff gets weird. But I will say one thing I did appreciate is that it felt of a time, even before the 90s, where like you could just kind of pick up a random issue and get it and not be burdened by, like, right now, if I picked up a random X-Men book, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? I have no idea.
Yeah,
But
For sure.
with this, it's like the longest arc that I've read like 7 issues, is like 4 issues.
Yeah.
So like if you picked up issue 4, you're like, I don't know what's going on, but I can pick up these couple. It's not
You'll
like I
get
need
it.
to know decades and decades. Although when I started reading issue 6, I was like, why the fuck is Superman blue? What the hell?
yeah,
But that's not Grant Morrison's fault. That's
Right.
whoever
Right.
was writing Superman at the time's fault.
yeah.
Yeah. And even with that, he still manages to, subvert your expectations on that, electric powered blue Superman.
And just in the JLA book, I was like, I didn't even know if that was Clark Kent. I was like, I don't know what's going on. They keep calling him Superman. I'm going to assume it's Superman.
Right. Yep.
I will say, when you hear Grant Morrison, I feel like you kind of have to like brace yourself for a certain kind of story. And I kind of felt pleasantly surprised by this, because it wasn't, because I think I had some trouble with it in the beginning, but I think that was kind of more to do with personal headspace than actual like the writing of it. It's kind of like I sat down, like, having trouble, sat down again, and like, I was able to kind of breeze through it. And I don't know, it didn't, because there's, Juan, like you were kind of mentioning about like Final Crisis, because there are some things that are just like his multiverse stuff, like some stuff I read by him, I just think I'm not smart enough for, like, or it's just so convoluted. I like the flow of what I've read so far, and I do appreciate that despite the fact that these are gods, or they're godlike, living amongst us, especially Kyle Rayner and Wally West feel so grounded to me, and not in a way that's like distracting, and I think kind of evens out all the big personalities that you have in there. Having like Martian Manhunter, who's like kind of stoic, and I love how Batman just like never wants to be there. It seems like, like I'm a liaison that in that capacity only, and like
I do like how that he actually felt like Batman though.
Yes.
Whereas like Ben Affleck Batman in the Snyder Cut didn't feel like Batman. Whereas in this one, everybody like respected him, and you knew he was the smartest guy in the room. Like,
yeah,
he had a plan. Like, he was scary. People underestimated him.
Yeah.
I appreciated the fact that like Superman felt like Superman, Batman felt like Batman. The characters definitely felt right.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think there's a bit that Kyle Rayner says in I think maybe the 4th or 5th issue about how like someone's coming up and it's like, God, I hope it's not Batman. Like I love that, like every time he walks into a room it's like somebody died. Like I think just like I live for little moments like that, because I feel like that's realistic. It's like, oh God, I just hope it's not this dude. I just, despite having all this power to make anything I want from this fucking ring, it's like, it just wouldn't be enough. Dude just bothers me. I loved it. But I do like, I was texting Juan at one point because Wally West mentions Superman about he's not digging Kyle Garner, or not Kyle Garner, Jesus, sorry. The Kyle Rayner Green Lantern, and I was like, did I miss something here? Like, so that's there are some moments where I felt like I know there were other things happening before or at the same time, but it wasn't distracting enough. But
yeah, I wasn't even sure who was in the Green Lantern suit at the moment.
So for a little context, this, if I'm not mistaken, came out like 95.
I think 97 the first issue came out.
Was it 97 or 96?
That's what it says on the app that I got it from, but
okay. Around this time, so Hal Jordan was Green Lantern in the Silver Age. He lost Coast City because of reasons, Mongol and Cyborg Superman.
Oh, right, yeah, the Superman, yeah.
He begs the Guardians to bring back Coast City. They give him the bird. And then he decides to start murdering Green Lanterns, stealing their power rings so he would have enough juice to bring back Coast City. He does all of this and eventually gets stopped. Point is, when he does all of this, he basically decimates the current Green Lantern population in the universe at that time.
Mhm.
So a lot of other Green Lanterns go into hiding. Their power rings stop working, etc. And Ganthet, one of the Guardians, basically takes what little juice they have, plugs it into one last ring, and goes to Earth looking for another Green Lantern, because they've had John Stewart, they've had Guy Gardner, and by this time, Guy Gardner's something else. He's dead. John Stewart isn't a Green Lantern anymore, left or something like that. I know that he's responsible for a planet getting destroyed, so they were mad at him for that.
Right. Remember that.
And then Ganthet is on Earth, and he's in New York City, and basically Kyle Rayner turns a corner, and Ganthet comes out like a hobo and's like, look, man, you got to take this. It's the strongest weapon in the universe. I can't really tell you anything about it. Peace out. And that's what happens. That's Kyle's origin story.
Jesus.
So
random.
Right. The ring now, we have Jeff Johns. He went in and said the rings go out and seek you. If you have a power to overcome great fear, then you were chosen to be, the Green Lantern, right, or whatever, right? Whatever the thing that is baked into the rings now. So Kyle essentially gets this thing. It's the last strongest weapon in the universe. Everybody on Earth is like, who the fuck is this kid? Mm-hmm. Everybody in space that he runs into is like, I thought all the Green Lanterns were dead. I'm not listening to you. There's no Green Lanterns. Like, fuck you. There's no more law, So Kyle got a lot of shit from a lot of different people. And him joining the JLA or getting put on this squad was one of the first things that started turning that perception around, not just in the DC universe on Earth, but throughout space. So here's where he starts getting that respect. And it so happens that part of it comes as the fact that he's essentially kind of ribbed a lot as the new guy. There's a lot of, pointing out the lack of experience or, shut up, kid, you don't know what you're doing. That type of vibe. And that's where the Wally thing comes from. Because from Wally's point of view, he's been a hero since he was a teenager. He's known Hal since he was a teenager. He has basically come up through the ranks under his uncle, learning the ropes. So even though he's new to the Justice League, he's, arguably has as much experience as Superman, as Batman, as, Wonder Woman. And from his point of view, his uncle who went crazy, that power isn't there anymore. Now it's just in the hands of some schmuck who's like my age. At least I've done this for a decade. Like, this kid he used to be an artist. He was an artist last week, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? So that's where a lot of that comes from. And that's smart on Grant Morrison's part. The books at the time were kind of sort of doing that, but it really wasn't until Kyle was on the team that you see that start to be reflected in other books. After he's on this squad, he shows up in an issue of, Green Lantern, and now Green Lantern isn't talking as much shit as he was before he was on this team. So it really kind of changed a lot of people's views, and they had fun with it, man. I mean, they really leaned into the fact that Kyle's an artist. So a lot of his constructs looked weird. They looked, getting rid of the giant boxing glove, and instead it's going to be something intricate, and there's, like a Jack in the Box in your face instead. Or
I think in this he talks about he likes manga or something, so he makes like a mech.
Exactly. Right. So there's a lot of that stuff, and the dynamic there is fun, and it gets a lot more fun, especially in the next couple of volumes as this gets going.
I like that. Kyle was the Green Lantern I knew growing up, so I think I always kind of liked him by default. Right. But like you kind of telling that story though is like it's like it kind of makes me like him more, and now I want to read.
Yeah, he has quite a growth in the DC universe, going from being shit on as like the alley lantern, the garbage lantern,
right, to
now all the other lanterns. I mean, cut to 15 years later, he is the one, having been a Green Lantern for as long as he's been and seeing all the shit that he's done, he's the one that reignites the central battery on Oa. He's the one that's essentially responsible for spawning this current wave of lantern rings and all of that. And now when he goes around to other parts of the sectors or anything like that, other Lanterns look at him. They don't call him Kyle Rayner. They don't call him Green Lantern. They call him the Torchbearer. Like, there's a sense of respect there. Like, it's earned. It's a long process.
Right.
But it's good. It's good stuff. And it starts here. So, yeah.
Word. All right. Well, I know I'm going to be reading next one. Yeah. And I think reading this too also kind of made me appreciate Wally West. Wally West was also my Flash growing up, especially because of the Justice League cartoon.
Hell yeah.
I love Wally West.
Yeah.
That was my biggest complaint about the New 52 was that like Wally West like disappeared. I was like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. I'm not gonna dive into that.
Doesn't he come back somehow with Rebirth and then changed it again or something?
And then they changed it, and then they gave him his wife back, and then took his kids away, and then gave him his family back, and then took that all away. And then they brought him back because everybody's complaining, and then he ended up being a murderer, and then they went back and undid that. It's bananas. I don't want to talk about current Wally West. This Wally West, and then the Jeff Johns Flash run Wally West are the pinnacle Wally West for me. Yeah. So when Jeff Johns stopped writing that, the second he brought back Barry, that's I consider the cap on Wally West. Mm-hmm. They tried to make it work for a while, but Jeff Johns and his insistence on those Silver Age fucking characters, man, with the Silver Age mantles. Yeah. I don't like Barry as much as I do Wally. Real talk. No. Barry kind of sucks.
Well, sorry.
I was going to say one thing that is interesting thinking about it. DC does something that Marvel has never been able to do really well, which is hand over the mantle of a superhero to somebody else, and people like them. so like, if you think about it, there's a handful of Flashes, there's a handful of Green Lanterns. Even when other people became Batman, like when it was Dick, or I guess it was just
there's Dick and Jean Paul, but that was more kind of Nightfall, right?
Mm-hmm. I got the issue where Bane got his back broken, given to me by one of my older sisters because she knew I like comics. So she gave me a bunch of comics. And that was one of them. I got that on my birthday, and I looked at it before I went to school that morning. And I did not have a good birthday that year. Yeah. I mean,
that's
the issue is Batman getting broken in half over Bane's knee, like literally on the cover. And then, like, there's no way that happens. And then it literally happens in the comic. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah. I too got that as a gift. They were doing these like DC like box sets where they like, it was like an event and all the issues were in there. So that was like kind of one of the first complete things that I read. And I too kind of felt a little traumatized, not so much with the back breaking, but the following issue when he throws him off the building. And he's just lying in a pool of blood, and there's like a little girl crying, and there's just one dude like just sitting on the sidewalk, like doing like oh my god, and I think I too was like,
yeah, brutal.
Jesus Christ, that's
it's
a
funny.
lot
I
of
read
blood.
Like 100 issues from that period, and I don't remember anything.
It all blends together.
Yeah.
I mean, some of that stuff from that time did, all the Superman stuff, all the Death of Superman, Funeral for a Friend, all that stuff feels like one giant issue. But then we get to stuff like this run, or like the Jeff Johns Flash run, or the JSA run, or the Rucka Wonder Woman run, where they don't feel that way, where you can think about different instances like, oh wow, that's a really good, like all this was the start of DC's kind of central idea of not just getting all their big selling characters under one title again. Because I mean, prior to this, there hadn't been a JLA comic in a number of years. Anyone that was successful with this roster, there hadn't been this roster on the team since I want to say it started. It was always one of those things back then when they, Aquaman was on the team. He was on the team for like 3 issues and then he decided to leave, So to have this squad, these 7, be the 7 for the majority of Grant's run before he starts adding characters, but always still with these 7 being the ones that everybody else kind of aspires to be. you know, he had that long-term goal. When you get to the end of the run, you can see where he was mapping it out, you know.
Yeah.
And then he does it again later in other stuff like the comic 52. That's another one that I can think of that he did a really good job of, you know, doing long form planning, and the stuff with the scientists and that at the end is pretty badass.
Yeah. One thing I like about Grant Morrison is that I just love that. For me, that what sticks out a lot in his writing is like moments. Like he has like just like these great fucking, not like, I mean, he has great arcs and there are great issues, but he has like great moments. And I think like issue 4 was a Tomorrow Woman,
5.
You know, 5. Okay. I love that issue, and I love, you know, just I think, you know, this is a character, at least for me anyway. I mean, I didn't know about this character until this issue, and he made me feel a lot of feelings about this character in this one issue. You know, being like, oh, like who's this? She's cool. Oh no, wait, she's like a machine. She's designed
supposed to be an evil robot,
right?
she fights against the programming, and
dude, I am a sucker.
WandaVision before WandaVision.
Yeah, I am a sucker for the whole like this is my time to redeem myself or to shine as I'm gonna die. Like you know, remember in Wreck-It Ralph? Remember when he's falling and he is looking at the medal that she gave him? He's like,
that makes me tear up every time I watch that movie.
I'm tearing up now talking about it.
It's so good, and he's reciting his mantra like,
I'm a bad guy.
Yeah, doesn't mean that I'm bad.
Yeah, that shit gets
good.
me.
Like,
I got those feels when, you know, when she's going in to take care of you know, and I love the ending, you know, well, actually the beginning and the ending was Superman and the fucking, you know, preacher or whomever. And, you know, I love when he says, oh, I'm sorry. I never buried a machine before. And Superman's like, well, you didn't.
Right.
You know, like it's just like, again, great moments, you know, great moments like that, you know, and I think back to like All-Star Superman, you know, when Superman kind of talks that girl
that's another one we're going to have to talk about at some point. Cause that it's Grant Morrison distilled, you know, that might be the perfect Superman story.
Yeah. I love All-Star Superman.
It's weird though with Morrison because there are issues and like these moments that I love, and then there's other stuff where I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know what the hype was. Like his new X-Men, there's a lot that I like about it, and a lot of what he brought had like lasting effect, but some of it I'm just like, you know, because I recently read it and I was like, I still don't know. I remember going with you to Comicopia to buy those issues. I remember you telling me, oh, Grant Morrison's taking over. It's going to be dope. Frank Quietly. I mean, the art is great, but I feel like rereading it now, I'm like, I don't know.
I haven't read it since it was fairly recent either, but I remember liking it the whole way. But yeah, I don't remember it that much.
Some of it kind of felt like weird for being weird.
It suffered from the lack of artistic consistency.
Oh, yes.
Had that not been the case, I think it'd be looked at a lot more fondly. But that said, I guess when first in terms of his run, I mean, right at Xavier's to me was always the high point. That's
I
the
agree
best
with.
That he put forth when he was doing X-Men. He got it. He really understood characters like Wolverine. I mean, there's a whole sequence where quietly being the master that he is shows Wolverine going up the stairs and Wolverine's getting obliterated. And as the panel, it's going from panel to panel, like you see Wolverine's healing factor in effect from panel to panel. And it's just subtleties like that that make Quietly a genius. And
Frank Quietly's so good. And that's why like All-Star Superman is so good. And,
and we'll come back to that because there's no way we can talk about his JLA run without mentioning JLA Earth 2, which is one of my favorite stories, period. With Grant Morrison and Frank Quietly doing the crime syndicate. So, you know, in terms of the concepts that Grant Morrison comes up with, even if it doesn't hit the mark, it leaves a lasting impression.
Oh, totally.
The stuff that Animal Man has gone through, without spoiling anything for you, Rob, is very much part of the character's current continuity. And I'll say that that's going to pop into your head when you're done reading it, and you're going to go, really? And I'm going to go, yeah, it is. It's really fucking weird, but it's totally in continuity for that character. So much so that it's been referenced in recent Animal Man series. Case in point, you mentioned the X-Men books earlier. The whole starting point for why the X-Men are doing what they're doing is because of what happens in the first issue of Grant Morrison's run.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was almost 20 years ago now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't mean to say like he doesn't have like lasting.
No, and I don't mean it like that, but that's what I like about Morrison. His ideas are so big, you know, some legit stand the test of time. I mean, before we started recording this pod, we all kind of nerded out for 2 minutes about Arkham Asylum, and he wrote that over 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we're still talking about it in 2021. Yeah. So the dude is a genius, and All-Star Superman, you know, Animal Man. This run is what pops in my head first, not the other stuff that he's done. Mm-hmm. It's this run. Yeah. I probably reread it more than any other run. And true story, the first time I went to an actual back in the day, conventions were like in hotels. In like their
the Radisson.
You know, Radissons. So the first comic convention that I went to like that, I remember going with my dad, and he's like, I'm gonna give you $60. And I thought this was so much money at the time. I was like, hell yeah. And he was like, all right, go have fun. He expected me to walk around for like an hour. I go, I walk around, I come back to him after 5 minutes, and I'm like, I ran out of money. And he's like, what? Like, what do you talk? I just gave you what did you buy? Like, what, you were gone 5 minutes. And I'm like, well, I had to get these. They're all autographed by the artist. I needed these issues, and I haven't seen them anywhere. And he was like, and it was JLA 1 through 4, autographed by Howard Porter.
Oh.
So, yeah, I bought that in all of 5 minutes.
Worth
very
it
quickly. Yeah, totally worth it. 100%
totally worth it.
Yeah. So it was good run.
Yeah. There's something I kind of miss about going to those conventions before the really big comic boom, you know, where it was like, because I remember, the first comic book convention I went with you, and it's just hilarious. Like thinking back at like some of the, like, you know, all of the bootleg DVDs and you know, all of I don't know, it's almost kind of magical in a way, because I remember, you know, because you were filming that documentary at the time. It was like Turn the Page,
right?
And I remember we were interviewing Mark Waid.
Yep.
And I remember thinking like that was you know, and I remember you gave him, I don't remember the issue, but it was the issue of Captain America with a Red Skull on it.
Captain America number 14.
Yeah, and like he was just like, what didn't like he like sign his name and then like scratched over it or something, like
name, crossed it out, and then signed Bob Harris. And I thought that was such a good burn. Like, this is before the internet, really, before message boards. So like any of the dirt that we had gotten through like Wizard or like the occasional like little weekly like CSN Weekly or something that might have an interview with somebody talking about it. So like we knew kind of sort of a little bit of the details, but since we had him there, he was mad enough to just like talk about it.
That was
and
awesome.
He talked about it for like 30 minutes, and it was rad.
It was
so dope.
I learned so much that day.
And yeah, honestly, I still think about what he said just in terms of all types of entertainment, like movies, TV shows, because his whole thing was that that issue being written from the Red Skull's perspective was just a straightforward, like, this is what's in my mind, you know, and this is 25 years before, you know, Joker becomes a giant hit in the theaters and everybody's like, yeah, we want to know what crazy fucks are thinking. His issue was written from the Red Skull's point of view, and then the editor-in-chief of Marvel went in and didn't like the idea that they would be printing a book called Captain America, where the main villain was basically the star of the whole issue, and he happens to be a Nazi, and he happens to talk about horrible shit that he's doing. Let me go in there and kind of make this more explicit, as if him being a Nazi wouldn't give away that he's a scumbag and evil. Bob Harris went in and started re-editing a lot of those word balloons. So it went from as I start my day, I make my plans, to as I start my day, I make my evil plans. Like that type of thing. And Mark went in on Bob Harris for like 20 minutes. But the main thing he said is no one wakes up and thinks they're evil. Everyone wakes up with their own purpose. So I think about that in any type of like, you know, form of entertainment. Like that's, I think, part of why Infinity War worked as well as it did for mainstream audiences, because Thanos isn't explicitly twirling his mustache in that.
Right.
You understand where he's coming from. Yeah. And that in a sense, even though you don't agree with the ends, you are justifying those actions to an extent, because you can get where he's coming from. So with all of that said, no one thinks that they're evil. No one wakes up thinking they're evil and thinking they're explicitly the bad guy. They're just doing stuff.
Right.
And that feeds into a lot of the characters, a lot of the villains that are in the JLA run. It's the same type of thing. Like they're all very righteous. The Angels in issues 6 and 7, like they have a reason. You know what I mean? It's not like they're just being evil. You'll see in coming issues there are other villains that get introduced, including one of my personal favorite JLA villains ever, that gets created by Grant Morrison.
Oh, cool.
So
I love the first arc with, you know, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for a super old comic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, but the Martians, or, you know, the white Martians, I thought was a good, because it's like, I thought it was a good twist, because, you know, from the setup, like these guys can't be trusted. They're a little too good to be true. You know, if Superman's suspicious, you know, but yeah, but like I love, you know, when like Batman puts the puzzle pieces together, like, wait, they didn't come check up on me in my crash because of fire. How else can you explain them having all these abilities? And I thought it was a really cool way to kind of bring in Martian Manhunter's backstory and the whole thing about, you know, the white Martians were, you know,
destroying Mars and destroyed his whole race of people. Yeah. It's a little ahead of its time, Grant, in regards to some of that stuff, because now if you watch Supergirl or any of the DCU shows, like white Martians are the go-to, like we need something powerful enough to like knock Supergirl on her ass, just bring in a white Martian, like, you know. But at the time, these weren't in DC. This was it. Like Martian Manhunter was said to have been like Superman in that he was the last one left. And then Grant Morrison came on and was like, well, he's the last kind of sort of one left. What if we just introduce this whole, you know, more dominant species that, you know, is more comfortable being in their original form, looking, you know, kind of like
they look like Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit. It's in how I've seen them depicted, you know.
Right. And that moment you mentioned with the fire and everything else, I mean, it's a twofer, because it's one of my favorite Batman moments in any comic that I've read, Batman or otherwise, but also one of my favorite Superman moments, because if you remember, they're telling him, you know, Batman crashed, he's got to be dead. And then Superman's like, wait, did you confirm this? Like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, no, we don't need to confirm. He's a stupid human. He died in the crash. And Superman's essentially like, you idiots didn't find a body. Oh, you guys lost now. Like, you done lost, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then, of course, lighting the match and dropping it in the circle of fire. One of the most badass Batman moments ever. Yeah. And then he just leaves a little sign for him, like, I know your secret.
Yes.
Then peace out.
Yeah, I feel like that was the equivalent of like, I have a machine gun too, ho, ho, ho.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. With the little bat symbol that he stamped onto it. Like, that's my favorite part about it. Like, he went into his belt, had a little like, all right, stamp, blah. Like, Yeah. So that stuff is great. That stuff is really good.
And and that's something I like about Grant Morrison, especially when it comes to Batman, because I feel like the assumption is Batman is easy to write, but a lot of people I feel like kind of don't always hit the mark with Batman, and sometimes are kind of way off. And I feel like he always has, like, I get mixed feelings about his Batman run, but again, there are like moments in his run that I love. And again, like, good ideas like Batman Incorporated. I thought that was a kind of cool idea where
Batman Incorporated is fun.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce Wayne's like, I'm not Batman, but I am funding his,
Right. Batman and Robin is one of my favorite runs that he does too. Is specifically Dick and Damian together.
Yes.
That makes for some really good stories. And again, more quietly stuff, more quietly brilliance there. But
again, another great introduction with Damian. I mean, that changed the landscape of the Bat storylines and family.
Yeah. It's more of Grant Morrison having a lasting impression. Even as you'll see, you guys have a real fun story arc coming up next that I look forward to diving into. But I will say this, there's stuff in that storyline that you wouldn't be surprised to have recognized in other media. Especially like the Justice League Unlimited stuff coming up with the way some of those characters interact, and more so in terms of how they kind of use their powers.
It actually just reminded me of another point, because again, I mean, I just like I said, I'm like a big sucker for moments and like exchanges, and I just remember that there was a good one that I really liked between. Sorry, I made sure I probably should have marked it, but there's an exchange that Green Lantern has with Wonder Woman. Where he's like, Wonder Woman. He's like, it's Diana. Like, don't stand on ceremony. We're in the same league. And he's like, says you. Like, I love that moment. Because it's kind of it's almost like he's the avatar for the reader. Like, you're coming into the situation, and that's kind of how I would feel too. Like, call me Diana. Like if I saw Gal Gadot, I was like, call me Gal. I'm like, no, I can't. We're in the same league. No, we're fucking not. I get it. Like, I totally.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff as with Kyle being the everyman, as you say, because you're right, he really is the point of entry for the reader, and he's just as inexperienced as being a superhero as a new reader might be, right? I mean, you're picking up that comic for the first time, what the hell's going on? And then you turn the page 2 pages later, and there's one of the characters going, what the hell is going on? Like, so it works really well. And there's some really cool, like, oh shit moments specifically because Kyle's like, wait, did that just happen? And then you're like, oh shit. Like, it's pretty good. It's a very fun run. It really is. Everybody gets their moment to shine. Even in story arcs. I mean, Batman, Superman, I can think of in the first trade for sure, get some real good moments, but there's great stuff coming up with Diana. There's some great stuff coming up with Martian Manhunter. Grant Morrison might have been one of the first people to really emphasize that Martian Manhunter is scary as shit. Like, you think about the powers that dude has. He basically has Superman's powers minus the laser vision. Plus, he can read your mind and turn invisible and shape change. What? Why? Like, that seems a bit overkill, right? Grant Morrison takes you to that place. It's good. It's real good.
Did Grant Morrison? It sounds like, and maybe I'm mistaken, but it sounds like he also had an impact on the Justice League show. Or am
I mean, a lot of the way, like for example, like in the Justice League, Wally is very much the Wally in this that you're reading. Occasionally cracking jokes, but both very capable of being a hero and very surprised that he's standing next to the other heroes. That's a constant theme throughout this run that you see a lot in JLU, right? Or even before it was JLU, you see it a lot just in general, right? Any other media, Flash is always going to be one of those dudes that's like, man, I can't believe I'm standing next to Superman. Yeah, believe it, dude. Like, you know, you deserve to be standing there. There's, like I said, there's stuff in the next story arc specifically with the villain that I don't really want to talk about because I want it to be brand new for you guys. But you'll see once you get into it, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I can see that. Okay, that's If you're reading anything and thinking that's familiar, just flip that around in your brain and go, that's where they got that from. Yes, it is. That's exactly where they got that from. So I love this run, man. This run I've probably reread numerous times, more than any other run of comics that I have. Easily. Because and the art changes from time to time. Howard Porter is the artist for the most part, but there were times where, you know, he was trying to meet deadlines and it doesn't look as polished. But the writing more than makes up for anything that seems rushed. So there's really cool stuff coming up. New members, new villains, reimagining of old villains, dusting off of other villains. Great stuff.
How long is his run? Like how many issues did
he ended up doing like 40, I think it's 42 total, 43, but that doesn't include the JLA Earth 2 thing that he does with Frank Whiteley, which was published sometime during this run.
Got it.
And I guess was something that he couldn't or wouldn't shorten it to fit into issues. He was just like, I think this should come out as one thing. And so they released it and it did. And it works.
Well, it's great that they, you know, when you see a big company like DC listen to the writer, like, nope, this is
one of the few times. That's when DC had people that knew what they were doing. So a lot of the executives up top, by the time Grant Morrison went from like his Vertigo stuff into the more mainstream stuff, some of those executives had moved from Vertigo over into DC proper. So they knew enough to either go to bat for him or leave him alone to his own devices. And then that kind of essentially feeds into itself and becomes a bit of a Ouroboros and a bit of a nightmare later on, because then nobody starts editing him as he gets further and further along. And then that's where you get stuff like, for every 7 soldiers, there's like a Final Crisis. And even then, out of the 7 soldiers, I always felt like half of them worked. The other half did not.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll see.
They can't all be home runs, I guess.
No. I mean, you got to have some stinkers in there. Every writer's, you know.
Yeah.
For every preacher, you're going to get a crossed. It's just going to happen. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love you, Ennis. You're great, but
Crossed is just disgusting.
A bit too much.
I'm never going to go to my way to read that. My favorite end of stuff is his like stuff and his like Marvel Max stuff. Love his Punisher, love Fury Max.
Yep.
And obviously fun. Preacher is a classic. At some point I want to read his Hellblazer.
I haven't read his Hellblazer run. I hear it's good. I've only ever read Azzarella's Hellblazer run, and I think some of my carries.
Yeah.
But that's another character I love that I feel like doesn't get enough mainstream appreciation. I felt like I was one of the only 3 people that were watching Constantine when it was on NBC, and that was such a fucking good show.
Yeah,
and they cut it short. And then I was happy that they brought the actor back at least. and put him in the, Legends
The animated.
of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's on the team now. It's the same actor.
That's dope.
And
yeah.
To get around the fact that Constantine's always smoking, they're always showing him throwing down a cigarette butt or something, which I always think is fantastic. That's fine. You don't want to show him smoking. At least don't lie to me. I know what's going on, So that's good.
It's always funny when I think about, wasn't like Sting kind of like the physical inspiration for John Constantine, just like, skinny British dude with like the shock of blonde hair.
Yep. But I always thought that if they had done it right around the mid to late 90s, the only Constantine on Earth was Tim Roth. That's the only person I thought who could have been.
Oh yeah, he would have been
absolutely destroyed it. If you want to talk about a short British dude who's somewhat clever and through the use of his wits ends up being one of the best magicians on the planet, that's a movie I'd watch. I'd watch like 5 of those movies with Tim Roth being, a douche, but super lovable. So
they need to find a way to bring Tim Roth's Blonsky back into the MCU, because he's somewhere.
He is coming. He's going to be in She-Hulk. They already confirmed this is going to happen.
What? I didn't know that. That is fantastic.
He's going to be in She-Hulk. We don't know anything about Leader, but it wouldn't surprise me if they work that in somewhere.
Yeah, a lot of people trashed that Hulk movie, but it had a lot of.
It has its ups and downs.
I mean, it has some goodies going for it, like Tim Roth as Blonsky. It gave us William Hurt. I'm glad they brought him back. So, I mean, there's...
I like the Leader in the movie. I want to see more of him. I love that actor.
Yeah.
So,
again, every time I see his face, all I can think of is, "Oh, brother, where art thou?"
Exactly.
We thought you was a horned toad. Like, that's all. That's all I can think of. But I'm here for it because he was great in that.
Yeah. And then, I mean, they're bringing back Justin Hammer in Armor Wars. He's going to be in Armor Wars. Yeah. So it's I like that we started talking about JLA and then we somehow came back to the MCU.
Sorry.
It's
sorry.
Awesome. No,
that was my fault. That was my fault because I was like, "Hey, speaking of Tim Roth, I can't."
No, but it's great. I mean,
it's a great time.
There was like a question on Twitter, like which franchises could you keep one, get rid of the other 3 forever? And it was like James Bond, Harry Potter, I'm trying to remember the other one, Star Wars, and MCU. And in like not even a second, not even a 1,000th of a second, I was like, MCU, get rid of the other 3, done. Yeah. Like 2 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, for me personally, true.
Yeah.
Like, I have no attachment to Harry Potter, so that's the easy go. James Bond I like, but meh. Yeah. And then Star Wars, just make more Guardians movies.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just still staggering just how not just successful, but good it is. Just how, like, well thought out it is. And just, I mean, I just still can't believe that, like, how good I kind of feel like spoiled, just like the fact that, like, it's like, I remember when Age of Ultron came out and people were like ragging on that movie. I liked it, but I remember thinking, like, you have to understand, we're living in a world where we not only got an Avengers movie, but we got an Avengers sequel. Like, I thought that was going to be a once in a lifetime thing, and now we have 4.
Like, the movies weren't even that great, but I love them. Like, like that Hulk, like the Edward Norton Hulk movie. I was just like, it's a Hulk movie. I'll take another one of these. Like, I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I know earlier we were talking about, missing when we could talk about films in an academic setting. But end of the day, what passes for a good movie is, did I forget I was watching a movie? Doesn't matter what it's about, who's in it, how it was made. Did I forget I was sitting on the couch or sitting in a theater?
Yeah, if I just did your smile job throughout it, I don't care. There's a lot of bad movies that I love. So. Oh
yeah, there are, like, I mean, hell, even Rotten Tomatoes has like those lists where, like, rotten movies we love. Like movies that were like decimated by critics but stand the test of time. Because they are in fact good. So yeah, no, just a good time to be a nerd all around, and hopefully, um, you know, we get some Marvel quality for DC because I've had to kind of explain myself more than once. Why don't you like DC? It's like it's not that I don't like DC. Like I want DC to succeed. Like because I feel like because I think for some people casually looking in kind of feel like there's like a Marvel versus DC thing, and I don't look at it that way. Like because I feel like if a superhero movie is good and it does well, that's good for everybody. Like that's good for Marvel, it's good for DC. So it's not that I want one to succeed over the other, but I am hypercritical of DC because of what Marvel's bringing.
Well, I hold them to the same standard because as a fan that walked into a store and would look at this wall of colorful books, little flimsy magazines that I would pay $3 to $4 for per, they needed to stick out, right? There needed to be one that jumped out over the other. So every time I walked into a comic book store, they were on equal footing.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, it's the same way with any type of entertainment. Like they're on equal footing. And once you start off on equal footing, one is, you're going to have someone that's walking ahead and someone that's lagging behind. It's just the way it's going to go.
Right.
And, looking at the sheets in terms of sales, it's always been DC. But for the longest time, the one thing DC had was that they had their shit together in terms of the movies. They were making money hand over fist with their properties. And they could always kind of thumb their nose at Marvel and be like, you guys suck. We got Tim Burton Batman movies over here.
Right.
You guys suck. We got Christopher Reeves as, the one who set the tone for what people should look like in a costume. What do you guys got? You guys ain't got shit.
Yeah.
Even dude, Dark Knight came out in
2008.
That's the same year Iron Man came out.
Yeah.
DC was still like, oh, Iron Man, huh?
That's
little
cute.
Stupid $300 million. We just made 600 million or almost 600 million domestic. Twice what your stupid little movie made, Marvel.
I remember going to Comic-Con in 2008 in San Diego, and Dark Knight was still like the hypest one. People like, oh man, did you see Dark Knight? And at the time, I remember they were pumping up Watchmen that was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no Marvel proper properties that were even showing yet.
Nope.
There was I think Wolverine X-Men Origins was one of the things they were showing, but it was still during the whole that weird era. But,
just goes to show how much credit you have to give to Robert Downey Jr., Jon Favreau, and Kevin Feige. Because everything we have now, Marvel wise, is built on Iron Man.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that was what greenlit Thor and then Cap.
That's always been the issue right now with the DC output, is that there's nobody like that in those positions for their characters or their property. And for every I would say out of the DC movies that have come out recently, Shazam's the best one, and it's not even close.
I do love Shazam. I also love the first Wonder Woman.
There are aspects of it that I really, really loved when I saw it in theaters. And then when I saw it again at home, it was after someone pointed out to me, yeah, it's just Captain America, but in World War One. And I was true. God damn it.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't unsee it. And it doesn't help the fact that my wife's name is Diana, and Wonder Woman does happen to be one of her favorite characters. So there's a very high bar of expectation that she has set. And that bar was immediately lowered by Zack Snyder when he cast Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Because, look, she's beautiful, hands down. That's not a question. And as a fan of the Fast and Furious movies, she kicks ass. So, again, also not a question.
Yeah.
But if you're telling me that she is a Greek Amazon who grew up off the coast of Italy, because they never say that's where Themyscira is, but let's be honest, guys, it's somewhere over there, right? She does not look like an Amazon. And there's numerous other actresses, even before she decided to keep putting her foot in her mouth, just stature-wise, Gina Carano would look more like a comic book Wonder Woman than Gal Gadot, and still carry off pretty. You know what I mean? Like, without losing that. So it was always an upsell. Yeah. And rewatching Wonder Woman at home, if you play a drinking game, every time someone comments on her looks, you are going to need to call 911 after about 40 minutes for alcohol poisoning. Right. Because it is preposterous. And my wife being named Diana, every time someone would be like, "Oh, Diana, you're so beautiful," blah, blah, blah. Like, that's her name. She's it's going to draw your attention. And then it draws her attention to the fact that all these men keep commenting on her looks throughout the whole movie. Right. So I love the action sequence, the No Man's Land action sequence in Wonder Woman, but it's got to be Shazam. And then realistically for me, it's probably Birds of Prey. And
I did love Birds of Prey.
Yeah. Nobody in that movie is oogling, or really commenting on how hot these women are. Right. And the one time that it kind of goes into that route, Black Canary beats the shit out of the dude who was trying to take advantage of Harley for that. Right. So, and don't even get me started on Ewan McGregor basically stealing the show as Black Mask. Absolutely fucking hilarious. He's great in that movie. So, there are aspects of other movies that are kind of cool, Yeah. Batfleck never bothered me. He physically feels like Batman. And I might not like Batman versus Superman, but I can't think of or the Bruce Wayne moment at the start of that movie is easily one of the best on-screen, this is why Batman is Batman moments of all time. Especially when the building falls, all the dust hits, everybody's running away, and he's the only one running into it. Yeah. Badass. Great. Yeah. But as a whole, those things fall apart because you had Zack Snyder in his own lane doing his own thing, not talking to anybody else. Then Patty Jenkins doing her own thing, not talking really to anybody else. And all these other directors came in and are doing the same thing, with the exception of the directors of Shazam and Birds of Prey, which were smart enough to reference the good things in the other movies without explicitly pointing out how crappy they are.
I honestly think DC should have taken a completely different approach than Marvel and have just gone further with that and just let directors make good movies and not even think about connecting them. Like, if you want to make a Justice League movie, make a Justice League movie that doesn't have to be beholden to other movies. And because the Joker, that's standalone, that's great. You make something like that, and then say there's a new Dark Knight, like a Nolan style Dark Knight that's separate, which is kind of what's happening with the upcoming Batman movie. Yeah.
Right.
Or even the upcoming Superman movie by Coach there.
Abrams, yeah. Yeah, for me, I just want good movies. I don't care if it's an extended universe. Everybody needs it to be a universe, but I just want good movies. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, DC more than Marvel was pretty much all about the multiverse, and Crisis on Infinite Earths is kind of the starting point of all that. So DC could get away with it. The problem is that DC isn't cool enough to do it. That's the problem. Yeah. And I mean that in as straightforward a term as I could. They just don't fucking get it. They don't get it. There's a merger that's happening. It's in the news. It was announced today or yesterday. AT&T is merging with another company. But what's lost in all of that is that DC Comics as a company is one of those things that's getting merged in with this big company. Yeah. And the people talking about it, well, you have all these DC properties. They're just like, yeah, okay. Versus somebody like Kevin Feige, we have all these Marvel properties. Okay, we have over 5,000 Marvel properties. I'm going to monetize all 5,000 of them if I can. that's the mindset. That's the difference. That's what would be the game changer.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of a lot of boxes, and there's nobody that can see, like, that can take a step back and go, oh, okay, these all go in the same drawer, or they don't. They go in different drawers or shelves or whatever. So yeah, in a perfect world, we should be getting numerous Batman movies a year, numerous Superman movies a year, numerous JLA movies. I mean, you don't have to come up with a 4-hour excuse to get these characters together. I can think of a dozen more villains,
well, I think
that you can bring in.
I think Shazam is a perfect example of making a really good movie that isn't beholden to the other stuff, because there's very subtle hints at like the greater universe, but on a whole, it's like nobody knows who the fuck Shazam is. Right, but that movie was fun as shit and makes you like care about that character and his little group of friends and stuff. And if they just went off and made Shazam movies and never brought in anyone else, I would be A-okay with that.
Yeah. I would be into it. I mean, I'm curious to see how this Black Adam stuff plays out, because I love The Rock and I love that character. But I'm nervous about how that might try to work with the tone, the lightness of Shazam, with as dark as that movie has to be to properly get his origin done correctly.
Yeah.
To then bring it into present day or whatever they're planning on doing. But I like the casting. I like the stuff that I'm hearing and seeing from it leaves me very excited for it.
Yeah. I don't know. I got no.
We'll see.
Yeah. I think if they really wanted to go down the cinematic universe route, I think one of the things that really worked well for DC was that Iron Man wasn't a household name in 2008.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like 2008, my grandmother wouldn't know Iron Man or Thor or Cap. She does now, and I think, like, if you kind of start off with, like, one of the, I mean, obviously Iron Man's a big deal in the comics, but
right.
Outside of that, I mean, I think if you kind of got somebody who was on that same level as Iron Man, like if they did a cinematic universe and started with Shazam, like somebody who's not as well known, and kind of built up from there, that I think that would have been kind of a good point than being like, oh, it's Superman. Now it's Batman fighting Superman.
Well, I mean, Zack Snyder doesn't understand things that he reads. I'll say it again.
Yeah.
So,
that's going to be another whole episode.
A whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. I had a window of free time where I could have watched it this weekend, but I purposely did not, because I didn't want any negative opinions of an idiot's interpretation of the Justice League affecting my opinions of a genius interpretation of the Justice League that we're talking about today. Yeah. And when the movie when I saw it theatrically, and then when I heard the Snyder Cut was coming back, I've said it then, I'll say it again. If they really wanted to do a great cinematic movie to introduce Justice League to a wider audience, you could do it by adapting the first 4 issues. Everybody has a moment to shine in those issues. And you could use that exact same roster and give us a Kyle who's just as lost as everybody in the audience. Going, what the fuck is it? You could even open up the movie, no bullshit, because it's such a 2-panel image of Ganthet coming out of the alley and giving Kyle the ring. That's how you start the movie. You start the movie giving Kyle the ring. You start the movie with Kyle my Justice League movie opens up on a dude running late to a meeting to try to sell some of his sketches, to try to get syndicated, spilling coffee all over himself, super disheveled, but talented in the papers that are falling out. You can see the dude has skill. And as he's running and the movie's being presented very much like a 9-to-5 boring, semi-occasional comedy,
right?
You're suddenly taking a 180-degree full stop, like, wait a minute, we're going in this direction now.
Right.
Because here's this green alien or this bluish alien coming out of the alley like a hobo and saying, here you go. You have this now. I got to go before I die. Peace. And then he just pieces out. Kyle starting, you're like, what the credits? Justice League. Like, that's
you know what that makes me think of? What I think is probably one of the greatest scripts ever written and one of the best films ever written. It sounds like the first arc of Back to the Future, because what makes Back to the Future so fucking great is that for a good chunk of that beginning, you have no idea what the fuck the movie's about.
Yep.
Like, okay, you get this kid in high school, like you think it's gonna be like a John Hughes like 80s high school movie, like, I mean.
And he's skateboarding, which is like a new thing at the time. And is it going to involve a skateboard?
Yeah. And it's like, is he going to find the courage to like, nail an audition because he doesn't want to be like a failure? And then he's got all this shit with his dad. And then going to the parking lot at like midnight in a fucking jankety DeLorean comes out of the back of like a truck. You're like, what?
With your old scientist friend. Your old scientist friend that your parents are totally cool with you leaving the house at midnight to go hang out with the old science friend you have.
Who burnt his house down and is living in the garage.
And is looked at by the rest of the town as a crazy person.
Yeah.
You're going to let your 16-year-old go hang with him.
Yeah.
But that gives you an insight as to where the McFlys were at that point in their life.
Yeah. So your Kyle Rayner thing kind of makes me think of that, where we're having like, okay, this is the kind of movie, because honestly, those are my favorite movies where like you think we're going one way and then we take a hard left turn.
Right. Yeah. No, that would be.
I mean, you could be awesome. Like, you could literally have like, just like, him waking up late for that meeting with his sketches. He'd be like, oh, I'm late for school.
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it leads itself to a lot of the crazier shit that comes up in the run later, especially with Kyle being the one that's like getting exposed to a lot of the weird stuff for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of "you've got to be kidding me" moments that he has. And it's made that much more ironic by the fact that he's the last Green Lantern for a lot of this run.
Yeah.
If not most of this run, because they don't fix all that shit with the Green Lanterns till years after this, if I'm not mistaken.
And that would be cool for a movie if like, oh, you're the last Green Lantern. Like, I think that's such a good like setup. There's like a great heavy emotional backstory that's like that can be explored in sequels. You know, you could have a Justice League search for the Green Lanterns or like whatever. You know what I mean?
You know what's just thinking about that idea that I just threw out there. What would be even cooler about that is you don't have to get into why Ganthet is showing up all frantic and bloody. Like, that could be your sequel. You could have Parallax show up later. You could do that stuff. You could go into that background later. But by throwing in a new person, giving them, this power, and then immediately going, not only do you have this power, but we're not going to explain it. We're not going to tell you really how it works. You're going to kind of figure it out on the fly. And by the way, you're going to be standing side by side some of these other powerful superheroes that are actually respected and revered by your community.
I think one episode we should do is that we should just like brainstorm a script, because I have so many ideas. Because I've thought about this, what my Justice League movie would be. Like, how, like, if I were given the keys to the kingdom, how I would do it. And I think that would just be a fun episode. Just all of us just spitballing ideas.
I'll tell you this right now. Mine won't be 4 hours. Not at all.
Mine won't have women
45.
singing at Aquaman.
Hour 50 tops. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine won't have
them
any.
Sing. You don't even have them be sirens, Zack Snyder, because you don't understand nuance and you don't understand any type of like
we get it. They love him.
Essentially, right?
Yeah.
It really, when we do that Zack Snyder episode, it's going to be me swearing and dropping the F-bomb every 3 minutes.
You and Angela, actually, I think that it could just be the two of you. I think it would just be the two of you, and it would be fucking hilarious, because I know Angela has said that, like, when she heard you talk about Zack Snyder, she was like, I feel seen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I am not a fan. I think that dude has made one good movie, and that's only because I'm gonna say he had the blueprint for how to make that movie good, and that's the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed parts of 300, but for all intents and purposes, he took the comic and used it as a storyboard, and then added the subplot about the wife and the the other councilman or whatever,
whatever,
trying to blah blah blah. But one good movie, his first movie. So maybe this new one with all the zombies will be good because it's zombies again. Maybe he should just stick to zombies. If he just stuck to zombies, I might not hate him.
Yeah, or at least tolerate.
Right.
Definitely more to explore in future episodes. I've totally lost track of time. I don't know like how far in we are, but I'm getting the feeling we probably should be talking about what we're reading, what we're into. I definitely want to come back to this Justice League, though. I definitely would love to review it. I don't know, Rob. I know obviously Juan is down. I don't know about you, Rob, but maybe if we like review the 42 issues, as, like just kind of like discuss it as a whole, something to chat about.
So down.
Yeah, so I know you would. Also I was telling this to Juan for a book club. I would love to read Stormwatch. Which I don't know if I know Juan's read it. I don't know if you ever read it, Rob, but it's Stormwatch is awesome. And that leads into like, the Authority and Planetary.
So Rob has a kind of puzzled look and a bit of fear on his face when you said Stormwatch, because I know he knows enough to know, like, wait, is he talking about like the Image Stormwatch from like the
That's
90s?
What first came to my mind.
Yes, he is. However, specifically when we're saying Stormwatch, we're talking about Warren Ellis's run on Stormwatch, which he started after it ran for 36 issues. So he comes on with Stormwatch number 37, and he writes that thing for like another 25 issues, and that leads into the Authority, and that leads into Planetary, and it's really good stuff, really good superhero stuff.
Yes,
that's still super relevant today. So I think you'll definitely dig it, especially if you like this.
Yeah, very, very good. So I'm throwing that out there as a nomination for a potential book club. It's good
for sure.
Yeah, and that's something I would love to reread.
I'm down.
Yeah. But in the meantime, what are we, apart from Grant Morrison stuff, what have we been watching, reading, playing? What's been kind of getting us through these times?
Yeah, I read the JLA stuff, but I've been pretty busy just doing house stuff.
You built a fence this past weekend.
Built 3/4 of a fence.
3/4 of a fence.
Next weekend I'll finish that fence.
Still not anything to laugh at or scoff at.
Nice.
But yeah, like my weekly TV show that I've been following regularly is Mayor of Easttown, starring Kate Winslet on HBO.
Oh, okay.
I've been waiting for that to finish so I can watch it all in
It's a murder mystery set in the Philadelphia suburbs. It's I dig it.
Okay.
Sweet.
It's pretty good. I like it. Kate Winslet's always great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That is good. How about you, Juan? Anything watching, reading? I know you're a busy parent too.
Yeah. They're always taking up time here and there, but
Rob, he's got 2 of them.
Yeah.
It's double the time.
Bit of a gap. So I have one who's going to be 8 in a couple of weeks, and then a 2.5-year-old who's fun and handful unto himself.
I still need to talk to Drake about Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Soldier.
He keeps mentioning it to me.
So we got to schedule that. I definitely want that.
But
yes,
in terms of watching, I'm trying to really think. I mean, I've been watching a lot of. I feel like I've been watching a lot of wrestling documentaries lately. We have Peacock, so. I get WWE Network, and
that's something on the show we've never dived into was wrestling.
So lifelong wrestling fan here.
Yes,
I've been watching it since I was about 4 or 5 years old. Will never not stop watching it. I realized I'm at this point in my life, just like I'll never not stop being into comics or any of it. Wrestling is one of those things.
We're in for the long haul.
And I've been watching a lot of wrestling documentaries lately. A&E's been doing a documentary series that's been produced really well on different superstars. So like they've done one on Macho Man, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Shawn Michaels one was really good. And then I flipped that because the Vice network has a Dark Side of the Ring documentary, which is basically like all the horrible, tragic wrestling stories.
Damn.
Done really well. So it's like I've gone from like, I'll watch like a super uplifting 2-hour A&E, like, yeah, they had a great career. And then I'll flip it and like, yeah, he died horribly due to like drug addiction and overdose on pain pills. Like, oh God. So it's
get the wide range.
Emotional pendulum, if you will. But I that's what I feel like we've been kind of consuming lately in the brain.
Excellent.
That and the Fast and Furious movies, which we've been rewatching, so that my gonna be 8-year-old saw the trailer for the new one and he was like, I gotta go see that. And we're like, well, you gotta watch all of them first.
Yeah.
So and we finally reached a tipping point where now we've seen the best one, and now we're about to go see some of the other crazier ones. But I think Fast 5 is like the pinnacle. I think that might be one of the greatest action movies of all time. So
something else we should probably review the Fast and the Furious series.
Just like Fast 5 is so good. I remember seeing that in theaters with zero expectations.
Yep.
And 2 seconds in the movie, I'm like, that was the dumbest, most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, and I'm in it.
Yeah. It's so dope.
To win it. Excellent. I recently rewatched, because I don't remember. I had a realization about The Godfather, that I have seen The Godfather, I've watched The Godfather, but I've never watched it beginning to end. That like everything I've seen was like not in a chronological order, in different pieces. It's just one of those movies that like it has such a cultural impact. It's kind of always in your peripheral. So it's like
also very long.
Very long, yeah. So I sat down and watched Godfather Part 1 and 2, and holy shit. Incredible. I mean, just across the board. I mean, that's a movie that's like, we're talking about like, Justice League being 4 hours. This is a movie where like even though it's like 3-4 hours, whatever, every second counts. Like everything has such weight, and it's like I can't imagine like taking anything out. Probably Godfather 3, but that's about it. But I mean, just like the directing, the acting.
Last time I watched Godfather was when we were in college, and I had lots of free time then, and I watched Godfather 1, ate something, and then watched Godfather 2 all in one day. Yeah, just by myself in my bed. I just sat and just watched them back to back, and those movies are incredible.
Really are.
I like those movies, but I don't like.
They're not movies you can just go back to all the time, because for one thing, they're 3.5 hours long.
Yeah, but like I think Apocalypse Now is better. I've always been that dude. Like I've always like.
I haven't seen that in a long time either.
Between comparing the two, like masterpieces, right? I was always like an Apocalypse Now dude. Like,
Apocalypse Now is great too.
And it's also like I kind of blame Scorsese, because I feel like Scorsese does like the gangster thing better than, even though he did it late. Well, I guess you could say
he does it very different though, because I watched Goodfellas within the past 6 months. And Goodfellas is like, it's a whole like that movie. Is like it like bounces. It's like like it is so good, but it's like The Godfather's like long and like epic, where Goodfellas is just like bang bang bang, just like
even Casino,
so good.
Like that's the other
Casino's good
that
too.
I think of when I think of like that is the type of organized crime type of movie that I'm going to be more inclined to sit through than The Godfather.
It's because those are fun movies too.
Right. Yes.
There's the Goodfellas is like I was talking to Paul before this. We were talking about Kubrick movies, and like Paths of Glory is my favorite Kubrick movie, but like getting me to sit down and watch that movie, it's like a homework movie. Yeah. Right. But it's like you watch and you're like, wow, I feel like a more evolved human for watching that. But then they're like, you want to watch The Shining for the 30th time? I'm like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. No, I mean, Godfather was just something that, like I said, it's like because I love Casino and like Goodfellas and but like The Godfather, I just kind of had this epiphany, like, holy shit, I don't think I've ever sat down and watched this movie from beginning to end. I think I
It's
just
a
always,
saga.
yeah, I think I always kind of caught
For
clips
sure.
of it on TV, and like I knew what was happening. I knew about Fredo, but I think watching all of that happen organically, and plus, I mean, with Godfather 2, I mean, just seeing Robert De Niro being the young, Don Corleone was just like,
That's
I,
yeah,
I mean, I just kind of seeing the cultural, like, the cultural impact of it. And, I think just, it was just like fun. Like, oh, okay. Like, I feel like I could like appreciate it more as a 35-year-old
for sure.
than I
Totally.
did when I was like 10, seeing
Right.
bits and pieces of it. And especially like somebody who like loves acting and like loves storytelling. It's like, I feel like Godfather is one of those things where it's like you might not be a big fan of it, but you like game recognizes game. Like there's like
Exactly.
a reason
Yeah,
why
no,
it's
for
so
sure.
fucking
For sure.
beloved.
And that's why I said out of the masterpieces, right? The
Yeah.
masterpieces, it's either Godfather or Apocalypse. I'm the Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, like they're definitely up there. But
Yeah.
I just prefer Apocalypse Now.
Well, and part of the reason why I brought up Godfather 2 is because I watched this documentary called I Know It Was You, and it was about the actor who plays Fredo.
Okay.
He was only in 5 movies.
Yeah, Dog Day Afternoon was one of them. I fucking love that movie. That movie's fantastic.
Yeah. And it's sad because everyone says like, oh, they forget it. Everyone keeps forgetting his name. And I saw the documentary and I'm fucking forgetting his name. It's like Casilli or something.
It's Michael Cicerone or something.
Yeah.
Michael Cicero or
I don't know. But
all I know is that he would have been Meryl Streep's first husband had he not died.
Yeah.
Which is extra fucked up.
Yeah. But that story that they tell in that documentary is so sweet, and it's such a great reveal because it's like an Al Pacino telling the story about how he's like, oh, I just met the most beautiful, talented actress, and he's like, okay, this guy's clearly in love. And it was Meryl Streep, and yeah, she was a beautiful, like one of the most talented actresses, and they were like in love. Like she was with him on his deathbed. Like I mean, she was.
It's super sad. It's super sad for real.
It is, but you know what's really funny though, when they say like, for a guy who was like so fucking goofy looking, he had the most beautiful girlfriend. It's like hearing the other male actors talk about it, like.
The movies that he was in were all like stand the test of time movies. Deer Hunter.
Oh my God.
These movies. And there was one other one.
Yeah, it's with Gene Hackman, and I'm drawing a blank
Is it
on
the French Connection or
not the French Connection?
No. I'm thinking of the other one. The
I'm like blanking on it.
I know which one you're talking about. I know what Gene Hackman movie it is, but I can't come up with the name for it right now.
So John Caselli.
Oh, I was way off. Michael Cicero. What was I thinking?
Samsonite. Jesus. I was way off.
Exactly. Yes. Oh man.
But I think just seeing it, and he was from Revere.
The fuck out of here.
He was from Revere, Massachusetts. Wow. Like, damn. Wow. But yeah, no. I'm pulling up pulling his IMDb page. Pretty sure. Yeah, Dog Afternoon, Godfather, The Conversation.
See, I knew it started with the C. I was going to be like, The Confession. Like, no, it's not The Confession.
Yeah,
that's the one shot that I just wrote, basically saying I'm sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, the documentary's great. Godfather's great. I bring it up because it was kind of nice to kind of engage in something that wasn't comic related. It was just kind of like,
nice.
But you could see like, even Godfather, impacting different types of storytelling.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's good stuff all around. That's what I got. Yeah. And as always, if you're listening, appreciate the love. Give us some stars. Give us some good reviews. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You know where to find us. And stay tuned. We got more issues to discuss. So yeah, keep listening in and have fun exploring the multiverse.
Bye.